So today is a pretty big day, not just for me, but for also the rest of the Freight Path team, I guess, because today is Dan's last day. Huge. So for those of you who don't know, Dan is our CTO. I've been working with them for literally just over a year, and over this last year it's been a fantastic experience, and it's going to be a huge shift to be at Freight Path without him. So and it's quarantine, so we're gonna have to figure out a proper way to say bye. I don't know if everybody is in Ottawa still. If everybody was, we'd go out to the bar, but clearly that's not possible, so I'll have to think of something. But before that happens, it's running time. So super interesting thing that happens right before a podcast starts. First of all, I love recording podcasts. I love talking to new people. It's actually really fun. But about 5-10 minutes right before I'm about to start recording a podcast, I get this intense sense of dread. I just instantly, it's like, oh fuck, I don't want to do this. This is gonna really suck. But literally, we start recording, people start hopping on, and instantly it becomes like this amazing experience. And it happens every time I record. It's super funny because at the end of every podcast, I get super giddy and I start talking to people about it and raving about it. And then right before I start recording, I am just panicked out of my mind. So my building also put up this little sign in the elevator. Please respect physical distancing, one person per elevator cab at a time. Makes a ton of sense. There's only one problem with it. It's on the inside of the elevator, which means that you don't know any of this until you're already in the elevator, which doesn't make sense because that's really a message you need to be telling people who aren't in the elevator yet. Just a confusing mess. This is what I call bad design. So what we ended up settling on was that instead of ending Dan's tenure at Freight Path off with a Zoom meeting, we go for drinks or coffee sometime next week and close it off as we should. Plus there's some paperwork and some stuff to fill out, so that'll be a ton of fun. But honestly, I think the biggest takeaway from this last meeting, I think the biggest takeaway and the thing that I've learned the most working with Dan and starting to really become a leader is that it is so important to give the people under you a proper voice. And it sounds really weird because of course you should, but it can be challenging to do it in the right way. And I think one of the things that took me a while was at the beginning, I would give people too much freedom.
The thing with mixing eggs is that if my dad were here, he'd 100% be doing this with chopsticks, which I don't really understand. I guess it's the Chinese way of doing things, but I bought myself a $5 whisk. Can't do everything like your parents tell you to,
So much so that it almost became a sense of burden. So what I would do is I'd say, hey, you have to do this entire project, or hey, we need to send out we need to get this project completed, it's yours, done. And because I didn't help them build the structure and help them grow into that role, I think it created some panic, and I think it definitely brought down the results that we could have had at the time. And I think over the last few months, one of my big takeaways is I've learned to grow into that I don't like to call it a management role, into that leadership role, is really the ability to provide the right level of structure for everybody on your team, including yourself, and to hold everybody accountable, starting with yourself.
So, driving in Ottawa. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Pros and cons. So, not quite a dash cam, but it's close enough. Fuck, I can't deal with that. One, Ottawa is a very drivable city. Even though it's downtown, very, very small, you can get anywhere really within 15 minutes. Pro. Con, cars are expensive, parking is expensive. I have had well over $300 in parking fines over the last 2 years. Con.
So on one end of the spectrum, there's micromanagement, which is really saying that I'm going to go in on you and I am going to give you every little task and you're going to do it this way and this, and it really limits creativity. And in the realm of marketing, one of the things that we cannot have, especially for content creation, is a lack of creativity. That kills whatever great response to any content you had. So you can't just do the creative part yourself and tell somebody else to do the grunt work. It doesn't quite work like that. You have to make sure they feel a connection with it and they have an artistic license of a certain degree. They don't have to have the entirety of the creative elements inside that project, but there should be a level of control that they should have and a level of ownership they should feel whenever they do a task.
Well, that was pretty sick. That was corny. That was very corny.
On the other side, you have this laissez-faire form of management where you just say, this is the task, this is the goal, achieve it. I used to be a very big fan of that, and I think there are some people that are great for that role. I know that's the way I like to be managed, mostly because I am very comfortable learning on the spot. I'm very comfortable starting with basically no knowledge and working my way up. But that's not the way a lot of people like to do things. And frankly, it's not easy. And frankly, I don't pay some people enough to have them stress out like that, to work evenings like that, right? So,
Looking good, buddy.
you have to strike a balance in the middle, where you have to provide enough structure to people that they can succeed, while also giving them enough space to grow into roles and really provide that personal touch. And I think that it's something that Dan's tenure has really taught me, because he's always been a big proponent of having that type of structure. And at first I was a little bit reluctant to put it in, but the more structured we are, the more value people see in it, and also the more value they get out of having their own creative projects to work on. And it's something that I find is a terrific takeaway at the end of the day.